Hey guys, this morning, Chris and I did our normal Thursday routine. George didn't show up for some reason. And the routine is where he plays CrazyStone 6 Dawn and I ask questions along the way. But there's a problem with the recording. It didn't capture the Go board. So I am re-recording it, and hopefully I'll hit enough of the high points to make it worthwhile. Okay. Chris is black, which allows, there's a KGS thing where in a teaching game, you can only take control of the board if you're white. Pardon me. So that's why he's black, so that I can put the CrazyStone's moves on the board and have the ability to take control when I want to ask questions. Anyway, here we are. Plays this way, standard. One thing that came up here is when we look at the bottom left Joseki, and then we look at the peep. So we're going to imagine black peeps and white doesn't fix. The point is that white's two A stones are quite weak. So ignoring this is not an easy thing. Pretty much you want to respond. Okay, now let's do that again the professional way. Now, when black peeps, white doesn't mind, because if black cuts, white has far more liberties, much easier to fight with the 3 stones on the left than the 2. Hopefully you can see that. And in both of the cases, white has passed, so there's an extra move on the board wherever we want that move to be. Okay. But CrazyStone does this a little early, which leaves a weakness. And then we're presented with the question, when do we press at A? I want that to be an A, not a 1. And the answer is anytime we feel sure it's going to be Sente. So if we say, well, what if white plays away? This is a really powerful turn. White's 3 stones are immediately weak. Black's is really in black's favor. So white's going to respond. Okay. Now, let's look at some of the issues. Issue 1 is white's got this big wall at 1. I don't mean that spot. I mean the 1 wall. So the left is interesting. What else is going on? Well, if we put a white stone there, we can't help but notice that we're also involving the A stone. So that's 2 reasons the left is interesting for white. On the other hand, we do have the peep at A, which is very helpful. And white can't take the left in 1 move. I mean, the whole thing. So black is thinking, there's no rush. Okay, so if there's no rush, where do we go next? Well, we do have an unfinished corner in the bottom right. And let's acknowledge that there's 4 ways for black to play here. Not this way, because the shoulder hit works so well. Let's do it this way. We'll just follow it out so we all know what's going on here. White's 3 stones facing the center are wonderful for his wall on the left. This is all going in white's favor. So we can see why it's like a non-center move. I want points and I don't care about the center. Well, we do care about the center. Then we have this guy stating, I want to have center involvement, but it's a very thin shape. So Chris tightened it up, saying this is the way. You're obviously playing in the corner, but you're getting, it's a thick move, which makes it easier to deal with White's wall on the left. Now that almost seems far-fetched. Like, isn't that too far away, too much in the future, all this kind of stuff? And in his mind, not in the slightest. So that's educational to me. Okay, Black approaches. And here, Black's got the two choices, A and B. And he said they're both fine in his mind. His style, like mine, is more cash and life oriented. And here again, there's a couple choices. I don't think we use C anymore, but A and B. I've been playing A for a while now. I really like it. And he played it in this game. Some of you don't know this, Joseki. White doesn't come down because Black can just break right out. It would look something like this, and way too good for Black to get out like that. So White can play this in double sente. So if Black doesn't respond, something of Black is going to die. Okay. And then again, necessary. Now there's a few Joseki here. One Joseki is Black can simply play away. And Black gets the corner. Black got to move away. White's left with a cut. Perfectly reasonable. And just notice that White A is a very thick, strong move. But if we put that over here, it would be a weak move. And now Black can play things like this. Black can play this way, and start running. A lot of things can happen. Anyway, so that's one Joseki. The other one is this way. And now Black plays away. And again, he has Sente. And they're very similar. Okay. Something to notice. Let's say White comes down. I'm not saying that would be a good move. Let's say White comes down. Now we take a look at the left, and White certainly seems prepared to do great things on the left. Well, now's the time he would come in, touch the stone, because that's the way to settle in someone's areas by touching. Also forces them to make decisions. But since White went this way, we now know there's various underneath moves, making the left not urgent. So he chose to just play a big move. So to me, one thing to learn in this game, Black's thinking, I'm not concerned about White's big area. It's only one big area, and as long as I have access to do various things, it's just not that big. I mean, I've got four corners. How can the left be that big? So that's also educational. White comes in. There's a few ideas here to look at. First, we want to recognize that A is an open skirt. And if we come down at B, that closes the skirt in Sente. So that's kind of natural. Let's look at the opposite side. Black can also come this way. Let's close the skirt and white gets out. This side's wide open. There's tons of ways of coming in and living. So this is not a practical way. You're kind of playing, this is sort of a corner move that doesn't take the corner. So he went, oh, he did this first to ask the question. He wants to know, is white going to fix? Is white going to run out? What's white going to do? And white went out this way. We see in his game, he asks a lot of questions. So let's assume this for a moment. And on this board, we could say white is interested in the way this wall is facing up and the other wall's facing down. So white's putting a lot of emphasis on the left. So black can start thinking, when do I come under at A? When do I finish Joseki at B? When do I touch at C? When do I cut at D? These questions arise when white fixes this way. White says, I'm going to do the left. Then black says, well, here's the questions. Let me time, what's the timing of these four things? But when white plays this way, then black knows, I've got to cut at A. Well, let me get ready for that. First thing, I'm very comfortable playing this way if we just imagine this black being a black wall, right? That's a black wall, and then we see the cut. Let's just put that black wall in. You see how the value of cutting coming up? So, white, black, white plays here. Chris mentioned he begged viewers to pinch at A. In his mind and in mine, this is huge. It's so big that it's necessary. Let's look a little bit at why. First, there's no way white can do anything on the left if he's got a weak group on the right. So he has to defend. And white defended this way. So you get that corner move for free. Secondly, if you don't get the move in, white plays this move. Well, black's thinking, that corner's not great. I better come down. And now, as white plays away to wherever, I'll just put a stone down. Just so happens black can kill that stone. But white wants him to kill it, is the whole point. So black captured that stone. Black had a living corner group. He still has a living corner group. So no change there. Black's picked up, let's say 3 points, maybe 4, whatever. That's inconsequential. But white's picked up a real eye and great thickness to the outside. White's group just is twice as strong, and black picked up 3 or 4 points. So white loves this move. So when we do the pinch, the squeeze, it very valuable. If we ask another question, is the upper right black's corner? Is that his territory? No, it's not like white can't live up there, but rather it'll be costly and difficult. Okay, black to play. This move. I would not have found this move. Up to here, I would have found all of them, but with less confidence. He plays them with such confidence, you know. Let's look at the multi-purpose. First, if we look at the cut, we see the bottom part of the board. Black is becoming so prepared to fight and do damage on the bottom. This A stone is really doing a nice picture on the bottom, nice high wall. So that's one idea. Next idea. Black's ready to invade, prepares for the invasion. And again, if we look at the cut, then we see the left getting weak. So this cut at E4 is kind of like a right hook. The boxer's got it ready and prepared. I guess Rocky did that. He'd walk around the ring with his hand cocked, ready to punch. I dare you to give me an opening kind of thing. So this is multi-purpose. I love this move. White comes up. This situation Black's involved with on the left, those two black stones. This is something that Chris and I have been working on in my game. We meet once a week to work on my game. And this is where I tend to falter. Okay, so in other words, the next move I wouldn't have found here. It's like, to me, that's just this. When I saw it, it's like, you're joking. First off, you're begging white to fix. You had a cut there. You could have cut white, and now you can't. What good is the A stone doing? It's like, well, now when I invade, the entirety of his A group, he has no eyes. So it's supporting that. And B clearly supports the C stones in general. So the shape is good, and it's preparing. So this one took me by surprise. I wouldn't have found this one at all. If you asked me what are the 5 moves Black might be considering, this would not have been one of them. It's a beautiful move. It comes out. Black says, then I'll come in. White says, then I'm going to cut and surround. Okay, check this out. We have the A stones we'd like to use if we can, and we'd like to get our B group out towards C. So he plays here, saying either I'm going to connect to those stones, which perhaps I already have, or my next move at A simply walks out. Now this is getting bold. To me, you can't play this move unless you say, well, I can cut at that triangle. I can push through there. There's a knight's move. There's a knight's move. There's a huge gap. There's stuff all over the place. Of course I'll be fine. Now I'm trying to phrase it that way very specifically because as I've watched so many strong players deal with this, this is what's on their mind. It's not like they're not saying, if white B, I will do this, then he'll do that, then I'll do. They don't have it all the mini variations read out. They just go, oh, look at all that stuff. It'll be fine. Now, I use that all the time, but not at this level. This is pretty high. Well, maybe it's just hard for me. Okay. White says, no way. Black says, yeah, I'm going to keep that up. White says, you got to prove it. Who's like, okay, step one. I now can cut you at A. When I push at B, I have an I unconditionally. And my push at C is real bad for you. So white's quite weak here. And I can simply walk out at D. Okay. White fixes. Walk out. Now, something that didn't come up in the game is, well, what if the push and cut? Well, Atari, down. There's some really nasty cut situations here. White's quite weak. Now, we're not going to go over all the variations, but hopefully you can see, yeah, white's pretty weak here. White goes to surround the whole thing. Head on out. Start the knight's moves using them. Another slice through the knight's move. This black move is worth saving because it represents 3 or 4 cuts. I mean, it's really, there's a lot of cuts there. So well worth saving the stone. Now, white's sort of committed here to surrounding, but each time he tries, it's yet another knight's move, yet another elephant's eye, yet another big gap. And black just walks through. Oops, an eye. So now, when we push through at A, we're just alive, because that would make a second eye. White tries this. Now, I perked up here because a lot of times I think to myself, what am I expecting out of these A stones? Should I expect to kill the corner? Should I expect to bother the B group? And his idea was that the A group in general is really quite surrounded by white stones. So all he's looking for is some thickness and life. So this way. Now, white can do this, and white got benefit on the right, picked up at least 5 points in Sente. Yeah, but black's absolutely alive with good points. And black's very willing to do that because he's gotten so much profit elsewhere. So then white comes down here. The next attempt to get something going. Now, us mere mortals are going to play this way, right? This sort of thing. And then black's left with, what do I do now? Well, black's thinking, well, I'm not too concerned about that stone. I don't need points. I've got lots of points. White has almost nothing. So I'm going to slice through, which makes white weak on the bottom left. Then this move was hard for me to see, because what are those 2 black stones doing? They're not cutting stones. Yeah, but they can take a big bottom area. So he's kind of has a platform with which to build this. Okay. From there, build a little wall. Deal with the corner. And slice through doing well on the bottom. And so right about here is where we ended, because the A group is very alive. One could say that it's not literally alive yet, but there's so many ways to get extra health in life that it's just not an issue. So all black groups are fine. Black's got way more points, so there's no way for white to catch up. Okay, so that's the stuff we looked at this morning. Sorry that I lost the original video. You have to do with mine. Have to settle with mine. Okay, hope it was all helpful and educational. Catch you all later. Bye.